never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Today here on the channel, we're going to talk some wrestling before I get into today's subject matter. Speaking of wrestling, tomorrow night, 244 Livestock Road, Easton Nolly, Georgia. Doors open at 6 p.m. Bell time is 7 p.m. for SWA Reloaded. It's going to be a packed house with a packed card, and we're going to have 2 Battle Royals for the first time ever, and a New Blood Championship match and a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the Tag Team Championships. Tomorrow night, 244 Livestock Road, Easton Nolly, Georgia, SWA Reloaded. Doors open at 6 o'clock and bell time is 7 o'clock. So come out and come early if you have not bought your ticket ahead of time, because it will be first come, first serve, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night. But today's main subject, what I want to talk about, is WrestleMania. Now, I'm not going to tell you how many days away it is, because if you watch Raw and SmackDown, you know, because as soon as the Royal Rumble finishes every year, we start the countdown clock on how many days there are until WrestleMania. But it is coming up on us pretty quickly. Before that, of course, we have the Elimination Chamber, which will come our way 2 weeks from tomorrow, Saturday, February 24th at 5 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time from Perth, Australia. So if you're on the East Coast, you have to wake up really early that Saturday morning if you want to watch the Chamber live. But I want to talk WrestleMania because yesterday we had the WrestleMania press conference. And there's a lot of people that are up in arms and upset about what's going on right now, which I completely do not understand. First of all, it's wrestling. As long as we're entertained by it, that's all that should matter. And as long as it makes sense in the end, that's all that should matter. It's kind of like watching a movie where you get all excited about it and you think you know what's going to happen, and then about halfway through it, you get confused and you're like, where are they going with this? What are they doing? But then at the end, it all makes sense. So as long as all this makes sense in the end, that's all that matters. But you can't please wrestling fans anymore. You just can't do it no matter how hard you try. But we have to remember that Triple H is completely in charge now. And he has been doing this bloodline storyline forever. And almost everybody you talk to enjoys it and says it's good. So that tells you that Triple H knows what he's doing. But it does not matter how long you've been doing it and how good you are. We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We all mess up. If you have 10 different storylines, chances are about 5 of them are going to be exceptional, kind of like the Bloodline storyline is right now. And then 2 or 3 of them are just going to kind of be like iffy. And then 2 or 3 of them are going to be terrible because you have ideas that sound good on paper, they sound good in theory, they sound good saying them out loud, but then when you start the storyline, you're like, this just ain't working. It happens. But for the Bloodline angle to be doing as good as it's doing for as long as it's been doing it, that tells you he knows what he's doing. And now look what they're doing with R-Truth, with the Judgment Day. It's brilliant script writing. It's brilliant writing. So the man knows what he's doing. But we forget that Seth Rollins is not only hurt, but CM Punk is also hurt. So Seth Rollins was supposed to drop the belt to CM Punk at WrestleMania, but CM Punk is hurt. So that cannot happen. So when one of your main events is pretty much off the table because one of the guys is going to try to wrestle hurt in Seth Rollins and the other guy cannot wrestle at all, you have to redo things. There's nothing you can do about it. You don't know ahead of time that CM Punk is going to get hurt at the Royal Rumble. You don't know that. Which, by the way, speaking of CM Punk, I think he is done. I think he's finished. I think he's toast. I think he's history. I don't know that. I have no insight to that. But if you look at his track record the last 4 or 5 years, he's had more injuries than he's had matches in about 4 or 5 years. But you think about it. He's 45 years old. He weighs, I don't know, 205 max. And that's pushing it because that's about what I weigh. And CM Punk is no bigger than I am. But almost every match CM Punk has now, he gets hurt. But when you step away from the business for 7 or 8 years and you're not doing all this stuff, and then you all of a sudden step back into it, first as a UFC fighter, where you're out there actually fighting somebody, and then back in the wrestling game after years away, your body's not used to it anymore. I think CM Punk is done. I think he'll try to come back again in about 7 or 8 months, and I think he'll get hurt again. So I think he is absolutely toast. But they did announce at the WrestleMania press conference yesterday that the main event for WrestleMania will be Cody Rhodes against Roman Reigns. Now, they could have Cody versus Roman on night 1, and they could have Roman versus The Rock on night 2, or they could do it vice versa. Was this the original plan? We don't know. This may have changed since last week because after the segment on SmackDown last week, they actually had to edit that promo because that promo from SmackDown last week got the most dislikes and the most thumbs down of any video they've ever posted. And it actually got The Rock booed. And who would have ever thought that The Rock would get booed? But it's because the fans right now are standing behind Cody so firmly that anything that they do that goes against Cody, it's going to get booed. So they may have changed this because of that happening last week on SmackDown. And this may be the original plan, but we forget that they wanted The Rock versus Roman Reigns for 3 years. And the last 2 years, The Rock has backed out and said, nah, I don't want to do it. So I honestly feel like Cody won the Rumble because I honestly feel like they thought The Rock was going to back out again. And the backup plan was Cody versus Roman. And then when they realized The Rock wants to do it this year, and you can't tell him no because now he's one of the big shots in the company because of TKO, you can't stop him. So all of a sudden, when they realized The Rock wanted to do it, they were like, well, what do we do now? We can't take Cody off the WrestleMania card altogether, but he won the Rumble, but The Rock is here. And if you have Cody versus The Rock versus Roman, nobody's going to want that. It seems like they have a triple threat match almost every year at WrestleMania. I don't like them. I don't think anybody likes them. It's a bad idea, terrible idea, not a very good idea. So I think with The Rock actually stepping up and saying, no, this year I'm going to do it, it made them have to change some things, because what if you are going into it with every intention that WrestleMania is going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns, so you let The Rock win the Rumble, and then 2 weeks before Mania, The Rock says, no, I don't want to do it. Well, then here it is, WrestleMania season, and The Rock wins the Rumble, and then The Rock backs out of the match. Well, then you have Roman Reigns 2 weeks out with no opponent. So you have to have a backup plan. I think Cody was the backup plan, and then when The Rock decided he wanted to do it, they said, well, now what? Now we've got Cody versus Roman, which could be happening, and now we have The Rock versus Roman, which could be happening. So they could easily have Cody versus Roman on night 1, and The Rock versus Roman on night 2, or vice versa. Or they could do something else. I guess now we got to sit back and wait and see where this goes. But they did announce yesterday that WrestleMania main event will be The Rock. Excuse me, not The Rock. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. But what I think should happen is I think that Cody Rhodes should win the belt from Roman Reigns, and he starts celebrating, and within 30 seconds, Damian Priest comes out and cashes in Money in the Bank, and Damian Priest becomes world champion. I have never been a Cody Rhodes fan, never have. He just doesn't do it for me. He looks like a mid-card guy. He talks like a mid-card guy. He wrestles like a mid-card guy. Now, I love his passion for the business. I love what he's done for the business. I love the way the man promotes the business. But to me, he's a mid-carder. I've always thought that. To me, he's more entertaining chasing championship than he'll ever be being a champion. So I think if Cody beats Roman Reigns, the crowd would go nuts. But then after that, what now? We've watched Cody 2 years chase his dream, become champion. He done it. Now what? So I think what needs to happen is Cody wins the belt, and then Damian Priest comes out and cashes in Money in the Bank. Damian becomes champion, and that way Cody was champion. He says his dream is to be world champion. If you beat Roman Reigns, even if you have the belt for 45 seconds, you were the world champion. But I just don't personally think Cody Rhodes is a championship guy. I just don't. I'm glad everybody else does. I personally don't see it. But sometimes people don't realize in wrestling there's always long-term storytelling. You have to make it make sense. And that's why Sami Zayn, when he was doing the whole thing with the bloodline, why he didn't win the championship. Remember, he wrestled Roman Reigns. And had he beat Roman Reigns for the championship, the crowd would have went absolutely crazy. They would have gone ballistic. It would have been the roof blown off that place if Sami Zayn would have won the championship. But the problem is, you just destroyed the whole bloodline storyline by giving Sami the belt. And then what? Sami's not holding that belt. So yeah, it would have been great to see Sami win the championship, but then what? You don't just give somebody the belt just to give somebody the belt. the belt past SummerSlam, I'll be stunned. That's just my personal opinion. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. My neighbor is looking for a plastic surgeon to trim excessive cartilage from the side of his head. If anyone has a referral, he's all ears. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.